Ooh. You know what? Let me tell you a story. A story about how it all began. Roll the intro. Back in October 2020, I returned from my family vacation. I was going through, the videos and photos I was taking there and realized that my videos sucked big time and I needed to do something about it. So, naturally, I went onto YouTube and searched the term how to do a travel video. Overwhelmed with results. So I tweaked it a little bit and put in the term cinematic, so how to do cinematic travel videos. And the first one that came up was Fresh Out of the Oven by Aidan Robbins, Sounds of the Pacific Northwest. And wow, that was exactly what I was looking for. And that is what started off my path towards filmmaking. Aidan Robbins' film was exceptionally well made, both on a technical level and a cinematic level. Beauty of the pictures and the sound, it was, technically up there, top notch. So I binged his entire channel. Like there was no tomorrow. I spent hours and hours watching his channel. And YouTube's algorithm started, gearing up and started suggesting some very similar content, one of which was Jamie TK. And I was totally blown away when I saw his thumbnail for his video, Japan, See What I See. It was beautiful. I had to click on it, and it showed me another take on what travel filming, together with a story, combined what they can create. And again, YouTube's algorithm and gears started grinding all the bones, and it suggested, probably naturally suggested, Jamie's brother, Ben TK, and I started following his films with a very different way of filming and the transitions, which showed me a totally different perspective. So the possibility of boring, let's say, homemade home travel film videos to something which is entertaining with a story, dynamic. It was absolutely brilliant. It threw me in an abyss and I got totally hooked, purely fixated. My focus took a whole new turn when I was introduced to Sam Colder. But the real twist happened when I got to see Sam's Hey Tim. It was a beautiful story about his brother who had passed away sometime earlier, and I was really connected. I realized that I wanted to tell my stories. I was really hooked. I really, really wanted to shoot my own travel story. Unfortunately, the COVID days were still on us, and traveling was very hard. Mostly not even an option. So I decided to shoot my own version of a travel film in Malta, where I live, kind of in my own backyard. And research introduced me to Chris Howe, which introduced me in turn to Sam Newton, all the way to Parker Walbeck, and finally, Peter McKinnon. Yeah, sorry, Peter. It took me some time to get to you, but it was worth the entire journey, because the last push for me to go out there and do it came from Peter. Gave me the will and the courage. And that is what I did. In October 2021, we did it. And it was actually October 2020. We went there, my daughter and I, to the Chinese garden, which is a local garden we have here in Malta, and we shot our first travel film called Alone. And using nothing more than a very small camera, Fimi Palm. And this was the beginning. It's where it all started. Now that I had my first video on my YouTube channel, I decided to start learning a bit more the techniques. I mean, once you do your first film, you start realizing the shortcomings you had. So I started doing some research on drones, B-roll, which I had absolutely no idea what it meant back then, and depth of field and all the things that would make up a film. I was right straight ahead on a journey to my second video. By the end of November, I had shot my second travel film together with my wife, and I used the drone for the very first time. So scary, so scary, so scary. And using the Fimi I had used earlier, and the RX100, this only RX100, so kind of a small upgrade there. And I was enjoying it so much. I mean, I felt nearly unstoppable up until I lost all motivation. I'll explain why. Everything was going very, very well. I mean, I was preparing, two films, all done. Preparing for a third one. I wanted to do it all in sequences now, what I learned. But research started taking me into a lot of different places. And I started realizing that I wasn't well equipped. I started hitting my limitations very fast. Everyone on YouTube injecting a lot of information and expensive equipment, large lenses. I lost all my motivation. I didn't want to continue. I mean, I did really lose my motivation, but I kept going, kept trying to learn, just clicking around, mostly viewing, not really getting the will or want to continue. But somehow a thumbnail called Making a Short Film Alone drew my attention. This was from Film Riot. And I clicked on it. And it was about, during the COVID days, about this person who did an entire movie, short film, alone. Practically, I mean, he had no one else with him. He was totally alone. And it was actually very good. And what was good is, apart from the story, it did tell a story, it felt like a movie, really. And all of a sudden I started shifting back into another direction. Do I really want to do travel films? Or maybe I'm more interested in actually short films. So I started toying with both these ideas. And I kept on my research. With a lot of pushing from my wife and trying to keep me motivated, we concluded and posted the film Top of the World, and that ended the entire series of Textures of Malta. At that point, I wasn't sure if it was the end of the series or the end of the entire passion. Not really sure what I wanted to do next. Yeah, I kept browsing, clicking left and right on YouTube with no particular destination. So I felt that everything was really lost. But somehow fate has it that a very interesting title crossed my path. This was from Joshio from Make Art Now, and it was called The Time Travel. Somehow very intriguing. as a title, so I clicked on it. It was a very sweet story. It was also a story about loss, so it gets you connected. Josh Yeo has a very particular way of presenting stories, and I realized that there could be a hybrid of a lot of things. And being a solo filmmaker is mostly a challenge, but also quite, there's a lot of satisfaction to it. And again, pinching the entire channel, I came across one of his short films called Anamorphia. It was really well done. It's a funny, humorous, good story. He shot alone, and that's it. I was hooked again. I knew what I wanted to do, and I said this time round, it's worth the while. I want to do it. Let's invest. Geeking out period. I think that is how I would title this part of my life. And geeking out for me means geeking out, going into all the nuts and screws and bolts of everything related to videography. I wanted to understand what I really wanted. I mean, hybrids, point and shoot kind of thing, run and gun. I mean, all things that started coming across. But what I really wanted was a cinema camera. I wanted to shoot films. And everything was taking me towards that direction. Josh Yeo, which by now was one of the people I started following most, introduced me to the Blackmagic cameras. I had the 4K back then. I believe he upgraded to 6K too along the way. I said, okay, it seems that is the way I have to go to. Okay, so I started studying my new gear. Yeah, I did it. I bought new gear. I was obviously over the moon. So I decided to do a vlog, talking to a camera. It was the first one. I felt so uncomfortable. I still do, really, but it gets better, it gets better. And it wasn't a technical review. I mean, it was more me introducing my gear just for the fun of introducing gear, because it's something everyone does. But one thing that people don't normally do is promise. And I made a promise. I'm gonna do my first short film with this gear called First Light. I had absolutely no clue where I was gonna start from. So I had uttering the words, and whilst I was saying it, I said, where am I gonna start from? No clue, kind of thing. But you know what this? I had the backing of a lot of people. All those creators, from Aidan Robbins to Josh Yeo, Sam Calder, Peter McKinnon, Chris Howe, Sam Newton. I mean, all of them were there looking out for me and always kind of pushing the right content at me when I really needed it. So these were the creators that inspired me. These are my friends, even though I don't personally know them, but they were there when I really needed them, and throughout the entire journey. One thing I've learned, and this is something that I'd like to pass on as a message. I mean, never fall in love with the process, okay? Because you would need to start from scratch. You need to go back to the whiteboard, okay? So don't fall in love with the process. Just make sure that you do it with a lot of passion, okay? With a lot of quality, but you have to always be ready to scrap everything and start from scratch. Never, never give up. Fail, 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 succeed. This is what we need. So this is the end of this episode. I would really appreciate if you can click the thumbs up, subscribe if you're interested in this content, notification button if you want to be notified for future videos. And well, That's it. Your support would be appreciated and help us grow this channel. As always, keep at it. Capture the moment.